Hey, all you guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Dax here, and I haven't ever done a tutorial before, at least for Godot. But I'm gonna go ahead and do this today because I am working on a 2D, probably gonna end up being pixel art. It's pixel art so far, RPG, and I have struggled immensely on trying to find a working dialogue system that does exactly what I want it to do. Um, so far though, I think that I found something that works, and my code can probably it could probably stand to be cleaned up a little bit. Um, let's see. I'm gonna use this font. I'm gonna show you guys what I did so that maybe if some of you are having the same issues that I was having, it'll help somebody out with their game. Because I found a lot of information online that was helpful but did not completely solve my issue, and I sort of had to mix and match and play around with stuff to make it work the way that I wanted it to. So I'm gonna set up a small test scene. It's not gonna be super detailed or anything. Um, After I create the text box so that y'all can see how it works. Um, and I'll be explaining along the way, but this is mostly just going to be the text box. I thought about adding sound to it. I'm going to add sound to it in my game, but I've not successfully done that yet because I've been working on other things. And so maybe I'll come back and do that later, but for right now, it's just going to be a simple run-of-the-mill text box that prints each letter unless there is input from um, the player, which will then skip to the end of the line, and then once it gets to the end of the line, either way, you will get a next indicator and a um and then another input from the player will continue onto the next line of text. So we're gonna start with a control node, right? And we're gonna call our control node anchor. I can spell today. Actually, I do need to set up. Well, I can probably just make it big. It probably doesn't matter. Well, no, let me set up the project settings because my sprite is a little weird. So I'm gonna shrink this down to 320 by 180. And we're gonna do our test with 1280 720. I've been using a laptop all weekend, so you'll have to forgive me for my typing on my PC is a little lackluster. We want our mode to be 2D, and we want to keep our aspect. And I think that's all we have to change. We'll test it in a little bit, and if we have to change something else, we can do that. So we have our anchor, and this is really just going to tell um, our box where to go, and we're gonna take it actually and make it be directly in the horizontal middle and right on the bottom of our camera. So like this blue line, if you've never used Godot before, um, this blue line around here and this discoloration on the green and the red, that is where your camera is basically when you load the scene up. So we're gonna have our anchor there, and we're just gonna pop our rectangle here. And I believe that my rectangle for my game is 144 by 32. So it looks like this. I'm gonna have to just do that. And then from the anchor, we are going to add another control node. And we're gonna call this one Textbox. This is what we are going to attach our or code to. Our layout, we're going to make full rect, and that way it pops up the same um, area. Um, and under our text box is where we're going to parent, we're going to have all the children of the text box be what makes up the text box. So we're going to add a text direct. And again, you want to go full rect. And I'm going to go in here and load my text box for my text direct. So there we go. I actually will try to include a link to my assets if I remember in the description of this video, but this is just a simple, I need to re-import it actually. Let's go ahead and re-import all of these to our 2D pixel. I don't think I hit re-import on that one. So there we go. Now all our graphics should be fine. But yeah, so we've just got this plain tan thing. All of the assets that I'm using for this are from opengameart.org under CC0 licenses, except for the text. And the text font that I'll be using is from 1001 Fonts, and it is also free to use for commercial use. I tend to do that just in case I need to use fonts and stuff for advertising or whatever. That way I know that I'm okay to use it. But I will be putting links in the description to all the assets that I've used here if any of you would like to use them as well. Let's see. Text box or texture rect. And then after the texture rect, we want a rich text label. And again, we're going to hit full rect. We also need an animated sprite, and that's going to be our next indicator. And I'm gonna go in here, load sprite frames. And there we go. And I think I had this set to 10. We want it to be playing, obviously. And I believe I set the scale to half because this one's actually kind of big. Yep, and then we just want to hold Alt and then drag this over so that we're only dragging the text indicator. And I want it like right here in the corner. It's nice and green. The player's gonna see it, and so it should be fine. Also, for the I forgot with the rich text label, I do want margins. With this size, I am doing kind of like exceptionally small because I do pixel art. But with this size, I found that a 6 by 6 by -6 by -8 works the best for what I want to do. And then that way you're not hitting the pixels on the edges, and it should look okay. We can go in here and add our custom font, just a normal font. I'm not going to mess around with the other fonts, and you just click new dynamic font, click on it, and down here in the font data we want to load our font. And then the size, I haven't used this font yet, so 8 might work, but for longer text, I was using 4 in my game, honestly. And then we can go to the default font color and make it like a nice like brown so that it stands out, but it's still like not straight black. And what else do we need? We need a timer. And the timer is going to be important for the code, but we can just add the timer and we don't have to do anything to it right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and load this so y'all can see what it looks like. It's gonna take me a minute because I will have to add the capture correctly. And since we haven't done anything, this is our main scene and it's our text box scene. Oh, I guess I have to save it first. That might help. So I'm gonna make this the text box scene and not the anchor scene because obviously text box will be easier to find. And that's how I actually have it set up in my game as well. Alright, now we have to select this scene. We're gonna open it. And let me get y'all that capture. There you go. So you see it's just a little box in the screen. Um, and the anchor is so like if you move it around, it resizes and it stays in the middle of the window. Just like that. Like, oh, I guess it doesn't show it that way on my screen capture. But when we go this way, you can see it. So there you go. That works. Let me make sure this is still gonna work. Yeah. Okay. So that's all the assets set up. And now I'm going to show you what to do with the code. So click on Textbox and click this button up here. That's add script. And we're just going to do Textbox GD. There's no reason to change that. And we're going to get rid of all of this. Now, I've seen a lot of people do tutorials, and I will tell you right now, I write a lot of comments in my code. So I usually make a little box at the top, actually. And what I do is the first one is this code controls the text box, right? And then I write written by Dax Hathaway and when it was last updated, because that helps a lot. I comment a lot because I intend to code for my job, and commenting is super important, and I don't see people talking about it enough. And the date. And I'm not gonna flesh out this box because that just takes a minute. But basically what I do is just hashes all the way to here. Make it look nice. I guess I am gonna flesh out the box. I lied. My bad. But yeah, a nice little block of comment so that we know what we're doing here. And then so I'm gonna start explaining the variables, and hopefully y'all can follow along with me. So the first variables that we're going to make are going to hold timer duration, and the timer duration is for the speed of the text, the speed that the text prints at. So what we're gonna do is variables to hold timer duration, and we're gonna do onReadyVar slow equals 1.2 onReadyVar, and keep in mind these seem like really fast timers, but keep in mind that this is the speed at which we print one character. And so medium's going to be 0.3, and onReadyVar fast is going to be 0.4. And then we're going to set the text speed. All right, so variable to hold text speed so that we can change this later. And we're just gonna set this to medium for right now. So onReadyVar, and actually, let me change these. I'm gonna make these export vars because then we can change them like in the viewport. And that can be super helpful. to see like how fast the text is going. So we want our onReady var um, text speed equals, I said medium. Okay. Now we're gonna create an array to hold the text, but it's going to be an empty array. Because that way we can add information to it and we can empty it and we can do what we need to do, basically, so that we can have multiple lines of text from one scene. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. So our array, I'm just going to call it text, and it's going to be onReady var text and just equals to empty square brackets. And then we need a set get for that one so that we can set the text. And we want set text. I don't think we need a getter. But if we do, I will show you all that. And then we also need a variable for the array index, so that when we iterate through the array, we know where we're at and we can print the correct text. Let me just, so that we're not getting this error, do that real quick. And so that one is going to, we're going to set that at 0 to start. So that we're starting at the beginning of our array on open. All right, and then we need an indicator on whether or not the text is finished. So we're going to have a variable to tell us whether text is finished printing, and we're just going to call that finish, and we're going to start it equal to false. I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these spaces. Okay. What do we have next? We have finished. So now we need our variables to access the nodes within the scene so that we can edit them. So first of all, we need the rich text label. And we're going to call this text label equals rich text label. And the $sign tells it to grab the instant that's in the scene, the instance of the node. And then we need access to our timer so that we can edit our timer. And we're just going to call that one timer. And then we also need access to our next indicator so that we can turn the visibility on and off. So we have onReady var next, and that's going to be our next indicator. And so there we have our variables. And we also need a signal. So this is going to signal when the array is finished. And then we should start working on our functions. So I like to have a function called reset. And that function basically, what it does is it empties the text label. It sets the text label visible characters to 0. And I think that's all we need it to do. Because we destroy the instance um, when it's fully um, sorry, my brain's not working today. We destroy the instance when it's fully done, and we want to move around again. Um, and I actually in my game have a cutscene state for my character, and that's how I control that. But we're not going to get into that here since this is just a text box. But if you guys want to see that video and see how to do that kind of thing, I can absolutely make that. Just let me know, hit the subscribe button, and we'll get it out here. So I'm actually going to put the reset function in our ready function. That should have an underscore. And that way, when the game loads, or when the scene loads, it puts our visible characters to 0, so we're not showing the player anything before we're ready to. See. We also need a function that we're going to call load text. And this just puts the text into the rich text label so that it's ready. So what we're going to do when we load text is we're going to make sure that finished is equal to false so that we're not showing our next indicator. We want to check that we aren't going out of bounds for the array. And to do that, we're going to use an if text index is less than text.size. And then we want to display our one character at a time. And so we're going to make this function in a minute, display text. And what display text needs to take is the text at the index. Fix that. And then it also is going to need the text speed. And then we will want to increment the index so that we're not just staying in the same one. So we're going to do text index plus equals 1. And with this method, you can't really control the text speed per message, and I'm going to be working on fixing that later. But for now, like, it works. And then we're just going to say else we want to emit our signal, which is end text. All right, and so let's go ahead and build our display function. So display text takes words and speed. And what we want to do is make sure that our text labels characters are set to 0. So that again, we're not showing the player the text before we're ready for it. And then we want to set the entered text equal to the text at the index that we are at. And so to do that, you're going to do text label dot set text works. And then we're going to go and iterate through the text itself. So for I in text label dot text dot length. And so this ensures that we won't be going longer than the actual text. We're going to start our timer. So timer start, and it's going to take our speed. And then when we hit the point where we are at the last bit of text, we are going to set finish equal to true. And we also need to take this timer and go in here to the node and connect timeout to our code. And on timer timeout, we are going to make sure that we're not at the end of the visible characters. So if text label dot visible characters does not equal -1, because we're going to add functionality to let the player skip to the end of it. Or, and you can also use this for or in Godot in GD script, but yeah. Or if the text label dot visible characters is not equal to the length of the text, then we are going to print each character one at a time. And just like that. All right, and then actually gonna change this from words to be message. So just like that. And we're gonna hit text.append. So it appends it to the end of the array, which I might find a cleaner way to do that too, because it's a little code heavy, but it works. And that's what I was hoping for. So this is definitely not a perfect solution, but it is something that works as a placeholder. And so we also have function convo end, and that's when we queue free the object. So let's see, I think we're good on everything now except for our process function. So up here, I'm gonna say function, and we don't need like the physics information, so we don't need physics process, we can just use process. And we're gonna put an underscore in front of delta because this one actually doesn't need to take delta either. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take next, our next indicator, and set its visible property equal to finished. So when finished is false, you can't see it, and when finished is true, you can't see it. And that's going to make it so that it's not just sitting there blinking the whole time the text is scrolling. And then we're going to say if the visible characters are equal to -1 or to the text length, then we are going to set finished equal to true. And if finished is equal to true and we press the input, which is action just pressed, let me actually check what my input mat is on here. Naturally, space is UI accept and UI select. So I'm gonna do UI select. Oh, that's not right. Okay. Is it gonna? It's not gonna pop up now. There we go. We're gonna do UI select, which is just a spacebar currently. And we're gonna say load text. So what that does is give us the next um, the next bit of text. And then we're going to make an elif here. So these two if statements are independent of each other. That means they can both execute regardless of each other. But this elif is connected to the previous if statement. So if the input is pressed, there we go. If just UI select is pressed, then, and it's not finished, then we're going to set finished equal to true. We are going to stop our timer. We are going to set our text to completely visible. So our visible characters, we're not even going to get the length. We're going to just call -1. Oh, that needs to be a set visible characters. And that way it doesn't matter how long it is, but -1 gives you the entire text every time. And then we're going to say yield get tree dot create timer, and we're going to give it like 0.3, 0.2. Let's do 0.2 seconds. So that just says that Godot isn't going to execute this code any further until the timer times out. It's a one-shot timer. And that means that it will show you the text and it won't let you skip ahead until the timer's up. Actually, I'm going to make this to 0.3 because I had some short text earlier, and that took a minute. Like it just skipped through some of it. So that's everything that we need for this end. And like just to show you, let me see, I guess I don't have anything here. So I'll set up a test scene as well. So this is completely good. We're going to go ahead and make a new scene, and it's just going to be a 2D scene. We're going to add a animated sprite so that you have some kind of context. And also we're going to add our text box scene to this scene. So there we go. We're going to drag this down here. Maybe not like that. Let's make sure the children are not selectable. Man, that anchor. What's this error I'm getting? Condition. Maybe if I hit Alt. No, it's not gonna let me drag the anchor. So I didn't have that issue previously. I'm not sure what the problem with that is. But I'm not gonna address that here because right now the important thing is that this works. And I actually had an issue before with the next indicator not wanting to be where I put it, and it looks pretty good actually. Oh, no, I guess that's fine. Yeah, that works fine. So, animated sprite. We're gonna new sprite frames come in here, and we have our little necro guy. We're gonna pop him in here. He's got 5 frames and no vertical frames, and we're gonna select all of them. And 5 seems to be just fine for him, and we'll add just a regular sprite and give him a shadow. Just pull that up. I guess that needs to be before him. There we go. So he's got a little shadow. And he's just a little necro guy. And then we're going to come into this scene. Let's save it real quick. We'll just save it as Node 2D. It's no big deal. And we're gonna add a script to this scene. Excuse me. And in this script, we are going to get our textbook, or Textbox. Textbook. So this one, I'm not gonna do all the comments at the top just for the ease of the video. So we want to get our Textbox. So that's an onReady var, and we're just gonna call it Textbox, and it's gonna be the anchor. And then we're gonna go into, let's connect the text box. We actually have to make the children editable to be able to do that. So we go in here, we connect this to the node script because we need to know when the text box, when the text ends. And so let me see. I have a bunch of extra stuff in my example because I am working on putting input in here too. But I think what we can do is say textbox dot end combo on this one, or combo end. I think that's what I made it. Yeah. And that'll just free the text box. Did I tell this when to? No, so we tell it to do that, and it says on the end text. So it emits end text when we're at the end of the array. All right. I might want to make this less than or equals, actually. Well, this worked okay, so we'll see how it works in this one, because it worked fine in my game. We'll go, I think that's all we need for the text box, and then we want to do function ready. And in our ready function, what we're going to do is we're going to set the text. So you just say textbox dot set text, and then put your text in each line of text. Basically, each one will give you a new. I'll show you how it works, but basically, so this is some placeholder text, and then we'll do another text box. Set text and say, no, really, this is just an example. Text box dot set text. Let's do. I hope you're not waiting for anything special. Text box set text. I'm just a small guy. Text box dot set text. Mean I can do magic, I guess. And that'll give us just a little test. So we'll have to change the scene up here, our project settings, and our, gotta remember where this initial scene is. There it is. Okay, so we're gonna change this to the node scene 2D, and we've set the text and then we have to load the text. So text box dot load text. I wonder if the load text, we could probably actually change the speed if we put it in the load text function. Again, like I'm gonna have to clean up this a lot, but this is just something that like works for right now. So there you go. So it types out just one letter at a time, and I probably should have put some spacing between this font, but yeah. And then if you hit the space, it just finishes it and it gives you the indicator. And then you can wait for it to go again. All right, and then once you hit that, it goes away. Once you hit space at the end. And so it's a working text box, and it literally took me like 4 days to figure out how to do this. So I hope you guys enjoy. I hope this helps somebody. And like I said, it can definitely use some editing. I'm probably going to make a lot of changes to it before I'm done building this game. But this is what I've been looking for, and I have not been able to find anybody who's done a system quite like this. I did try to use the Godot text interface engine by Enrique, I think, and I could not get that to work on my system, and I don't know what's wrong with it, and I could not find any support for it. So I will upload. I think I'll upload these code files to GitHub, and I'll paste the link in the description for that as well. And that way y'all have an example to look at, um, so that you can maybe do some cool stuff uh, in your own games. And if you use this, and even if you like change it and stuff, I'd love to see what you do with it, because I was real excited that I actually got it working. So yeah, I'll be back eventually, I guess. Thank you guys for watching. I'm much more active on Twitch than on YouTube, so if you want to see more of my face, go ahead and follow on Twitch. The link for that will also be in the description. Let me know if you want to see any specific videos from me, and I will see about getting those out to you. Hope y'all have a good day.